Welcome back. Today here in the shop, we're back on this car, working on fitting the quarter panel. The things that we're going to do today, the tools that we're going to use, the techniques I'm going to share are things that you can apply to whatever it is that you're working on. Let's just get right after it. I'm Mike and this is My Car Shop.
Working out of a 100-year-old refurbished barn, bringing 35 years of experience to projects considered beyond repair. Vision, creativity, and problem solving are essential tools in this place. Watch as we transform junk into polished metal miracles. This is My Car's Shop.
I had shared a principle here on the channel quite a while ago now about how to do fabrication that doesn't suck. And the number one rule in doing fabrication that doesn't suck is to do fabrication that does suck. And then you just get better a little at a time. Reminds me a lot of what David Grohl said about how to be a good rock musician was get together with a bunch of people, get some instruments, get in a garage and play music that sucks until you don't suck anymore. It's a good philosophy to live by. So today I'm going to be sharing a bunch of stuff with you. We're going to go ahead and get into attaching the quarter panel, well, fitting the quarter panel better. We've got it fit in the back, but we haven't done the trimming and straightening, and we've got a bent opening. Well, we just got a lot of stuff to do. So all of that in preparation for finishing this in a wheel tub that we've been working on up till now on the channel. So enough talk, let's just do it. We're really not getting down into the fine details yet, but I do need to determine where I'm going to cut off up in here for the fit when we do the flange, because I am not going to be doing a cut and butt on this. I'm going to be crimping this up here and flanging it over. I think for the most part, looking at that quarter panel, we can just use the upper edge that is, but we still want to make sure that we have all of that accounted for. We're not going to cut up in here yet today, but we are going to work on this front edge in here and get more of this cut out, because we need to get this straightened out and we need to make sure that the front edge of this quarter panel is lining up exactly on this crease and for this body line down here, so that when we do the fit here, this quarter panel is vertically in the right position. It's not rocket science, but it's something that we need to just take a little time and look into. Area right here where it was bashed in, and there's a bunch of Bondo down here as well. I need to dig into that further here in a second, but I want to try to straighten this out. I think for now I'm just going to take a hammer and a dolly and kind of just tick 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 that over and get that body line relatively straight, just to start to get things in position here. And then we'll go down in here lower where you can't see, but down there, and get that Bondo out of there and see exactly what we're dealing with. So I let you see that in real time so you can kind of see what it takes. You want to be very careful not to leave hammer marks in that flange, but our line is good up to here now. It gets a little tight down there. Maybe hard to see on the camera, but we got Bondo and stuff in here, so next step now I think is to get that ground out of there. There was a dent in here from before, and well, it's just, you know, it's an old car, so we're gonna get that Bondo out of there like that. And I suspect that when this was hit, it tightened this door line up a little bit, so I think we're gonna need to dolly things that way. I'm guessing this is filled in with some mud, so let's get all that mud out of there and then we'll go from there. Definitely the dent here is causing this gap to be off, so we're gonna go ahead and dolly that a little bit and then straighten this edge out a little bit and see exactly what we've got here. I think that's an important point I want to mention. When we were rebuilding the '69 Charger, that car had severe front end damage to it. Up around the kick panel, down where the brake pedal, and up into the firewall was all crunched in from where that car was hit. And rather than making new metal, what I did was cut out the bent metal, hammer and dolly it back, go in and hammer the firewall back out where it belonged, and then welded in the fixed pieces. Put them right back in again. So collision damage isn't necessarily the same as rust. You don't necessarily have to use new metal. I don't know if we're going to get into that on this project because this is pretty much just a rusty pile of crap. But we definitely did that on the '69 Charger because when I cut it out, it fit back perfectly, right? Because it was cut out of that spot. So when everything was straightened out, very little trimming, put it all back in, butt welded back in place, and you could never tell by looking at that car that it was stitched together. I can already tell it's falling into place a lot better. One of the issues that happens, I'll bring you over here and show you, is because this is kind of a fit over panel to go over a rusty panel rather than being a replacement panel to fit when it's been cut off like this, it doesn't pull in good because of the way it's trimmed. So you can see that our line is lining up good here. I think we're in good shape there. But I want to show you a couple things down here that are the reasons we needed to do some of this so that it would fit in the wheel well, because I can't fabricate that wheel well until this panel is sucked in exactly where it needs to be. So come on over here, I'll show you. Come on, come on. This is definitely the question I commonly get asked. With this particular type of replacement panel, why don't I just use this factory or this, you know, replacement edge and peen that in and spot weld it in like the factory? Well, it's not very good, to be honest. So what I do, and you can see like it's being held out down here because of the way this is, well, you can tell. And so what I prefer to do is take these panels and come here and just buzz right up the edge and just cut it off here to start. Then we'll come back further because we're going to flange underneath where this comes in. I think actually what I'm going to do is come back about 1/4 of an inch and just cut that all the way down here so that that panel will nestle in nicely. Then we'll have it flanged behind and it should be a good fit. our front edge down here is cut off, and we'll be able to start pulling that in and lining it up. Still stuck out a little bit in here. That doesn't surprise me. I did measure the wheel well on the other side. From the inner side of the wheel well to the outside of the lip is just under 15 inches, which is about where we're at when I squeeze that together a little bit. So our inner structure is fitting pretty good, I think. Again, we're all looking at ballparks. Our line here lines up pretty close with the point to the door. We don't have to take the door open anymore to put our quarter panel on and off. And the beautiful thing here is with this line, first of all, this is a cheap crap replacement panel, so you're going to do some metal work to make this right. But with this point being here from the factory, I can move this around if I need to a little bit by hammering and dollying and welding and so forth. So that guarantees this point lines up. Even if I was off 1/8 of an inch in this quarter panel one way or another, I got tons of room to move stuff around because I have this, I'll call it a datum point here, where everything lines back up. So I'm happy with that. There'll be some more trimming to do on the end of this quarter panel up here probably once I flange that, because I don't know exactly how far in I can flange it because there is an inner structure in there. But again, this is all ballparking right now. So our inner wheel well is looking good. The next step then, I think, is to just get under there, verify everything, and then start tearing apart what's a little bit left that's here from the original wheel well and find out if anything is salvageable or if we're going to have to make that all new. Okay, I've checked everything now and it's looking really good. The front of that new piece that I made in here may be just a little teeny bit high, but I don't think it is. There was a couple pieces of goober down here I had to clean out from behind, so this will pull in better. It's still not sucking in all the way, but I don't expect it to. But I think we're ready to go back in here now, inside, and carefully start peeling apart that old wheel well and see if there's anything there we can at least salvage for a pattern, or, you know, well, just, yeah, figure it out. And this, my friends, is how tools get left inside of cars. I stuck that in there earlier when I was working on this up here and forgot about it, and of course I had the quarter panel on there and never saw it. And I mean, I'm not welding the quarter panel on yet, but it's probably a good idea to not hang tools inside like that because it's easy to forget. Anyway, so the chrome strip is still on here, so that's the first thing I want to do is go through and at least I think that's still on there. Anyway, get whatever is on here off and see if there's anything of that inner structure that we can kind of salvage for the future. Okay, so we've got everything trimmed off and ground down, so we can now start to make the piece that goes in here and then all the way down. And I think I'm just going to make that in one piece. It should be pretty straightforward. We can use the new quarter panel as our guide. So I think that's what we'll do. We will probably do the, yeah, I think we'll just bend a piece of 18 gauge and then just use the shrinker stretcher on it to bring it around where it needs to be. That's what we'll do. One other thing, this is off a little bit. I see we're going to have a little work to do in here, but it's no big deal. If I had to come back in here and cut this off a little bit, I don't think I need to. I can pie slice this if our bend is wrong. I think this is sticking out just a bit too far this way. It needs to kind of go like that. We can squeeze that back in, no problem. Okay, so we got a piece cut, and it'll be like this, and then we'll just start shrinking and stretching to make it kind of go from here on down around. So I think what I need to do is get the quarter panel back on the car and mark where this is so that I can just work from the quarter panel to make this piece, and then we'll just test fit it in here. I think that's going to be our best option. So on the quarter panel goes for the 732nd time. everything's kind of roughed in. It's going to need a little tweaking and tuning, but it's close. And then the other problem we have is, of course, it changes angles right here. So we've got to, I pie sliced it, and but we've also got to make it curve this way. So hopefully, I may have to trim this down a little bit here. I'm going to try not to, but hopefully I can just bend that to get that curvature match, and we should be in decent shape there. Then we'll really start getting it trimmed up and making it look just pretty. I had to go ahead and trim that because I couldn't get it to bend. It was too wide. So no big deal. We'll just go ahead, and I believe that needs to be shrunk to match that curve there. So we'll get it done. Okay, you can see that we've got a nice little in it now. And of course it goes also. So this corner down here now needs to go and get cut off because it's a little bit too, just a little bit too. So probably going to take, let's take an inch, 3/4 of an inch. Let's do 3/4 of an inch and see what that does. And it's getting there. I think we're good for the most part. Maybe could use a little bit more in there, but I don't think so. I think it's just a little bit too bent right there, and I haven't pie sliced that yet. The other thing is this edge does need to kind of, a little bit, it needs to tip, but good for a rough start. Okay, so when it's in here, you can see that we're not arching properly. A little of that is because this end is a little bent, but this needs to go this way quite a bit in here. So what I do is I go around on this side, and I just drew a line along that edge, and then I can tell by looking at this that, you know, we're wide here, which means we're not bent enough there. So what I'll do is draw a straight line across here, cut that off, and then put the shrinker stretcher on there to get there to be some curve the other way in there. Now, a curve each direction makes things interesting, so I don't know what we're going to end up with here, but this will be fun to play with. Okay, bunch of massaging, and it's fitting in there really good now. I trimmed this edge here down a little bit more. It could use just a touch more. Probably go at it with the grinder. I went ahead and took about 1/8 of an inch off with the tin snips. But again, we're just trying to get it roughed in. I think we're at a point now where we're going to be able to go ahead and attach this into the car with just a couple more touches. We're getting really close here, so it's looking good. Well, there comes a point when you have to say enough. I fit it. It looks good. I'll hold it up there for you to see. It's going to fit in there nicely. Butts right up against like that. It goes down and around, in like that. I think the only way we're going to get this in there is to just go for it. So we're going to go ahead and that out of there and get this to go in there and see what we get. Next step, I think, is to get the quarter panel on there, then get inside of there, fit this piece in where it belongs, and get some straps on it like we did here and kind of get it in sort of place. Like that. It's tacked in place, it's tacked together, it fits really, really nicely. There's a bunch of work to do down here. We're going to have to cut this off and do some work, but my next step is to try to get this all filled in here and get that done. But I've had the quarter panel on and off of there a couple times. It's looking outstanding. Couldn't be happier with the way this is going so far. All right, so you can see how we're fitting in there now. Get some light here. It's fitting really nicely all the way up and around. So I don't have the back of it down there fitted all back together because it's not that important right now. This edge needs to trim off right here. You can see the line where that's going to trim. So we're getting there. It's really starting to come together nicely. This could pull in just a little bit more in here. Our rocker lip, because of trimming everything today, our rocker lip is clipping. I think the front of the quarter panel needs to come up just a Nova Scotia. So we will do that next time. But I think we're in pretty darn good shape here overall. So was something else I wanted to show you. I don't remember what it was, so let me think about that. Well, that's definitely good progress. I would go further today, but two things. I'm out of time, but more importantly, I could find some time if I wanted to, but more importantly, I'm out of wire. So last episode, I was out of propane for the furnace, I was out of CO2 argon for the MIG welder, and I was just about out of wire. And so I got the propane and I got the CO2 argon today. The wire won't be in until tomorrow because we special ordered it through where Becky works. But I'm really happy with the way this is going. Like I said, when we get down to that lower part, we got to cut off a bunch, the end of the rocker panel, and there's just stuff. I think before we attach the quarter panel, I'm going to want to just leave that back corner cleco in because it's lined up perfect. I feel like this one, it looks like it's lined up, but instinctively I feel like it needs to go up just a little bit. So what I'll do is pull those two clecos out and just raise it up in the middle, just a Nova Scotia, just a Scotia a little bit more, and drill a couple new holes to get that up where I feel more comfortable. Make sure that it's lined up at the bottom. So a lot of this is just lather, rinse, and repeat. You know, the further you dig into something, the more stuff you see. We found that roof support that comes in there that needs to be worked on. We'll expose that more soon. The end of the rocker panel needs some work for sure. The rocker panel itself seems pretty solid, but I'm sitting here thinking the rockers on this car are actually pretty good overall. But I'm questioning whether or not I should just go ahead and take the rockers off, clean all of that up, and then put new rockers on just because of the rust that could be in there. I don't know. The front half of this car is good. The back half was destroyed because of the typical E-body rear window problem. So I don't know. We'll make that decision later. It's one of those things where if you start thinking about everything you could possibly have to fix, you're going to overwhelm yourself. So whenever I look at a car and what I see, I know it's 10 times worse than what I expected it's going to be, but I still just focus on the bit at a time. Once this bit is done, we'll get on to the next bit, the next bit, the next bit, the next bit, and before long, you've bit your way into a big bite, and you've bitten off enough that you've got a lot to chew down and swallow, and you've eaten the whole elephant. It's good progress for sure. So that's going to do it. You spent the day with me in the shop again, which is always what we do. I hope you learned some things. I really love watching this stuff come together. It's so much fun. Really, in the next episode or two, this is going to be pretty well buttoned up. So that's exciting, and I can't wait for that. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you receive those notifications. We're on the Face thing. We're on your instant grandma, also /mycarshop. And, oh yeah.